All right, today we're going to be talking about the constant of proportionality. You'll remember that last class we talked about what makes relationships proportional, and one of the ways to tell if a relationship is proportional is to make ratios out of all the pairs of numbers in a table. And if those ratios are equal, the relationship is proportional. And those ratios that are all equal are called the constant of proportionality. So let's begin by filling out this table for this example. It represents the miles run in a certain number of minutes. So if this is a proportional relationship, since 2 times 8 is 16, we can do 4 times 8 to get 32. To go the other way, we can divide by 8. So we can go 6 miles in 48 minutes, and we're going this way, so we'll multiply by 8 to get 64. So I've completed my table. When you have a table, you can think of the first set of numbers as your x values and the second set of numbers as your y values. So when we're making a graph from a table and we're doing our points x, y, then that first number is the x value and the second number is the y value. We can also use that to find the constant of proportionality, which is the y over the x. So I can take any pair of numbers in my table, 2 and 16, or 4 and 32, or 6 and 48, or 8 and 64. It doesn't matter which pair I use. I can do the y value divided by the x value to find the constant of proportionality. We know that 16 divided by 2 is 8, so that's my constant of proportionality. It means we can go 8 miles in 1 minute. If you used any of those pairs of numbers in the table, you would have gotten 8. It says write an equation that represents the relationship between time and distance. So the equations that we're trying to go for here are the y equals kx. Remember that the k is the constant of proportionality. It's the k. So I'm just going to keep y and x as y and x and replace the k with the constant of proportionality. So this equation could be used to find out how long it would take to run any distance. If we said, how long would it take to run 100 miles? You could plug in 100 for x and you'd find that it would take you 8,000 minutes, right? So it's a way of finding other values that are far bigger than what we have in the table. Let's look at this next example that shows cars washed and money earned. We'll complete the table. 5 times 7 is 35, so we'll do 10 times 7 to get 70, and we'll do 20 times 70 to get 140. Going the other way, we'll want to divide by 7. This is going to give me 15 over here. So I've completed the table. These are my x values, and the second set of numbers is my y values. The constant of proportionality is y divided by x. You can use any pairs of numbers in the table, so we'll do 35 divided by 5 to get 7, and we would get 7 no matter which pair of numbers we use in the table. For example, 140 divided by 20 is also 7. So that's my constant of proportionality. That means that we make $7 for every car washed. If we write an equation, we're trying to make it look like y equals kx. We're keeping the y and the k and y and x and replacing the k with the constant of proportionality. So if I asked how much money would I make if I washed 87 cars, we would do 87 times 7. And we wouldn't have to make a chart that goes that far because we could just use an equation. So the constant of proportionality, if you'll remember back to the last topic that we learned, we found unit rate by dividing the bottom number in a table by the top number that it's paired with, just like we're doing for finding the constant of proportionality now. So the constant of proportionality and unit rate are the same thing. All right, so that's using a table to find the constant of proportionality. Now let's look and see how we would find the constant of proportionality using a graph. This graph shows the hours spent practicing piano. Here are the days right here. These are my x values. This axis right here is always the x-axis. And these are my y values for the vertical axis, which is always the y-axis. So to find the constant of proportionality, we're going to take any point that we can find on this graph right here. It looks like the point 3, 2. So the 3 is my x and the 2 is my y. So we're going to do y over x. So we're going to do 2 over 3, which means, what does that actually mean? Unit rate is out of 1. So we're going to spend 2/3 of an hour practicing piano every day, right? 2/3 of an hour each day. So what is the constant of proportionality? Oh, I'm going to write that down. So 2/3 of an hour each day practicing piano. What does the 0.64 represent here? Well, here's the 0.64 right here. 6 is my x and 4 is my y. Remember that the x's are the number of days and the y's are the number of hours. So that says that we, or whoever is practicing piano, practices 6 hours in 4 days. So 6 hours of piano practice in 4 days. Okay, the last example has a situation there, but not a table or graph filled out, so we're going to be doing the graph and the table ourselves. It says a blue whale eats 8,000 pounds of food per day. So let's have this be like the day and the pounds of food, our x and our y. So in one day, the whale eats 8,000 pounds of food. In 2 days, 16,000 pounds of food. In 3 days, 24,000 pounds. And maybe like 4 points on a graph is good. The constant of proportionality is how much per day, or any of the y values divided by the x values would give you 8,000. It's 8,000 pounds per day. Our equation is y equals kx. K is the constant of proportionality, which we just said is 8,000. And now we're going to put the points from our table using ordered pairs x, y from our table to put points on our graph. So the x's are the days and the y's are the pounds. So I do need to label it, like I'll skip just to spread it out a little bit, 1 through 4, and then I'll do for the pounds, we could just do by 8,000s, huh? It's going to be very hard to squeeze those numbers in here, but 8,000, actually, why don't I skip? So I'm actually counting by 4,000s, and then 24,000, and 32,000. So my points, I'll switch colors here so we can see in 0 days the whale eats 0 food, right? In 1 day, 8,000. In 2 days, 16, then 24, and in 4 days, 32 should make a straight line. My constant of proportionality on a graph is always out of 1. So this right here is my constant of proportionality. All right, thanks for watching.